everyone, welcome to episode 5 of Inside Performance. We've got a slightly different format today. We'll be putting some questions to Justin from our county training players that have submitted them through. Hopefully we'll get some interesting insight. So welcome, Justin.
Good morning. I hope everybody's doing great today. The sun's out again, so it can't be too bad.
Exactly. Fantastic. So Justin, we've obviously had 4 episodes out so far of the series. Are you pleased with the reaction and the response so far?
Well, as long as the people out there are happy, then I'm happy. It's tough seeing my ugly old mug on the computer screen, but I'll just have to get used to that. But no, as long as people are interested in the response, I've got some nice bits planned for the next one. Moving on from how to use this, 6 inches between your ears as a weapon. So no, looking forward to it. And as long as the players are enjoying and the parents are enjoying, has some good feedback so far, then I'm happy with that.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's jump straight in. Question 1, which was submitted by Max Bland, age 13, and he asks, could you tell me what other sports you were playing when you were around 13 years old, and how many hours of tennis a week did you play?
Okay, that's interesting because everybody hears about burnout, and I'm sort of yet to see a player that's really burnt out physically from tennis. You rarely do get people that are struggling with knee injuries and back injuries at sort of 17, 18. So tennis hasn't really taken a massive toll on a junior player's body unless you're locked in a cage and that's all you can do. But generally, so more it's mental burnout. And if you just play one sport over and over again, it's an individual sport, you win on your own, but you also lose on your own, it can take a toll. So, my advice would be to play team sports as long as you can, but there's going to be a time where if you're playing so many other sports, you're not giving enough dedication to your one passion, your one love, the one that you really want to move forward with, then there's going to be a time where you need to cut down. But I think, I remember chatting to my dad around about 14, 15, and I'd come off the rugby field and I'd broken my finger and I couldn't then play in a tennis match at the weekend. And he looked at me and said, well, rugby, football, cricket, and you love tennis, where are we going here? And, you have to start asking questions. But I think the later, as professionals turn, pro later and later, you can play sport later and later. And remember, if you take away the football, the strength, the balance, the stamina that you get from that sport, how are you gonna find that? Are you gonna add that into your tennis program? So whatever you take out, you better make sure that you can put it back in, because those sports are giving you a lot of goodness. Now, I was lucky that I was able to. My other big passion is martial arts, and so by doing a lot of kickboxing and boxing and punching pads and working with other people that are holding pads, that's your camaraderie, but also the movements that are involved, the core strength that it gives you. So if you pick the right sport, you can keep going for a long time. So picking a great sport like martial arts, like judo, but other sports that take up a lot of time, they're going to be eating into your tennis time. So pick the right sport and you should be okay. I think chess is pretty good as well for the old brain as well. So chess, martial arts, go for it.
Okay, interesting. So you played football and rugby, you said, at sort of the younger ages, and then moved towards tennis, or?
Yeah, I played a lot of soccer. I played for my borough. I grew up in the London borough of Brent, so North London. Played a lot of soccer, played a lot of football, played a lot of cricket. Played cricket for Kent as a junior, so that was another passion of mine. And then rugby for my school, but I was very small. I was in the scrum as a hooker, and as you get to 13, 14, 15, and the big guys are getting bigger, and you're not getting any bigger, and you might be quick and nifty, you're always catching blows, and it's generally around the hands, and that's not very good trying to hold a racket at the weekend. So, and then I got into martial arts later on, boxing, kickboxing, Thai boxing, and that's great for flexibility, stamina, strength, building all good tendon strength in all the areas that you need. So that's a really good sport, and I would recommend. And that sort of sport is very complementary with tennis.
Okay, fantastic. Well, great start. Thank you to Max for submitting that question.
Thanks, Max. Hope you're doing well.
Next up, we've got Lucy Bear, age 10, who asks, how can she get more slice on her second serve?
Right, Lucy. So we've gone from other sports. So another passion of mine is snooker, and I've got a snooker table behind me. I do like a bit of snooker. And this is the pink ball. Now, it could have been any ball, but you talk about slice. So when I want the ball in snooker to go that way, which is what you're doing, you're slicing it, I have to hit the ball on this side, and it gets the ball turning. Now, the thinner I hit the ball, the more the ball shoots off in that direction, and that's effectively what you're talking about when you want slice. If you're left-handed, of course, you're slicing this side. So imagine a lot of people have trouble with slice because they hit too much of the ball. They hit too much. So imagine you're at your birthday party. There's always someone there that says, just give me a thin slice. Just give me a little bit. I'm on a diet. I don't want to eat too much. And you've got to give them, basically, you're just giving them the icing. So when you want to slice the serve, aim for the icing. Now the cake is obviously 9/10 of the area, and just aim for the icing. So in order to do that, you need your chopper grip. Make sure you've got your chopper grip, because that'll mean the strings approach the ball barely able to see the ball. It's when there's too much string facing the ball that you hit the ball too full on. So aim for the icing, and you'll be fine.
There you go. Top tip, Lucy, aim for the icing. I love it. Thank you for that question, Lucy. I hope that helps. Next up is a question from Marley Smith, aged 11, who asks, at what age do you know that a tennis player is something special and that they can go all the way to being a pro?
Okay, great question, Marley. And this is a great question specifically from Marley because a couple of months ago, before we were locked in, I was playing football down at Rudgwick recreational ground, and I looked over and I saw a young lad that was playing in with all the adults on a Wednesday night, and he must have been there. We were there for 2 hours, and he was there from start to finish with so much enthusiasm. So when I was getting tired on the football field and just walking around, I kept looking over to the courts, and I kept thinking, gee, that boy's really up for it. And you can tell when someone's up for it. You can just tell when they've got an energy about them and they genuinely love the game. Now, wherever that came from, it doesn't matter. If they've got it, you capture it, you put it in your bottle and you drink it every day. And it's that love for the game that you're looking for. Because if you win all the matches in the world, if you're the world champion at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't really mean anything if your ultimate goal is to be professional. But keeping that glint about you, that spark in the eyes, that real passion and enthusiasm is important, because without that, how are you going to start at 18 on your journey, perhaps for the next 10 years or now 15 years into your pro journey? How are you going to keep it if you get to 18 and you're done and you've won everything there is to win, and then you realize you've still got a massive mountain to climb? Because that's what pro tennis is. So how do you know? You know when you see a sparkler, and you see when someone's genuinely playing for the love of the game. And I've got to tell you something, and everyone else is watching. The boy that I was watching play was Marley at Rudgwick Tennis Club. And I'm really glad that he asked that question, because it's incredibly specific. And if you're looking for something, Dad, he's got it. He's got it. And you don't need to win stuff. You just need to be in the draw. As long as you're in all the draws. I was chatting to Jack Draper, who obviously made the final of Wimbledon. He's 280 in the world, Wimbledon juniors, 280 in the world. He's 18 years old, and everybody thinks he's flying. And we were actually talking about Yannick Sinner, who's also the same age as him, who's 80 in the world, might even be 70 now. And he was in the same draws that Jack was in, and Jack would beat him easily. This guy was in the consolation draw on Tuesday. But he was in the draw, and Jack was winning all the tournaments, doing very, very well. And Jack sits at 280, which is also very, very good. But then we've got Sinner, who's at 70 in the world, who's now playing on the main tour. So as long as you're there or thereabouts, as long as you've got that love for the game, that passion, and that glint in your eye, and that spring in your step, and you keep it going as long as you can, you've got every chance, absolutely every chance. So good luck, and I hope to better help you along on your journey.
Fantastic. Just on that, you mentioned when we've spoken before, where Jack was training as a junior, he was very keen to play points. I think you said at the end of every session, he really wanted to play a lot of points. Do you think that's something where you could potentially associate to someone who may progress on to be a top player, that sort of real appetite to play those points?
Yeah, absolutely right, Lewis. I mean, I remember in the one of the vlogs that we did with we're looking for player C, the
Mm.
player with competitive instinct, the player that loves competing. And Marley, when I saw him playing on that night, on that Wednesday night in Rudwick, all they were doing was competing.
Mm.
It was drills. I think drills can get you bored. Hitting up and down the middle can get you bored. If there's no purpose, whenever you start competing, there's a natural purpose. It's a natural. You want to win, or at least you want to compete. Either you want to win with yourself or you want to beat the opponent down the other end. So as long as your desire to beat the person down the other end doesn't override the passion to self-challenge and to do better than you did yesterday.
Mm.
Had a fantastic saying last few days. I'm going to get it wrong really, but you know, it's not the opponent down the other end that you need to focus on the next 10 years of your journey. It's the opponent within.
Mm.
Challenge yourself and always be aware of that. Keep a smile on your face and keep a spring in your step. You've got every chance, because I don't see anything. I'm lucky enough to have been in the locker rooms at the O2 and seen Tsitsipas and Thiem and Zverev and Federer and Nadal, and they've got it. They've got a spring in their step. And how Federer at 38 years old, has a smile on his face and enjoys hitting a ball, and he's got 20 Grand Slams and all that money. It just shows that that's the common theme all the way through. And talking to Jack, he loves it. Can't wait for the next part of his journey. Talked to Joe yesterday on his birthday about what his goals are, and he can't wait to get out there again and he just loves playing tennis. He's not missing the Olympics or missing Wimbledon so much. He's just missing playing tennis because he loves it so much. So Marley, Max, Lucy, so far, keep loving the game, and it'll just take you on a wonderful journey. Who knows where it ends up, but it'll take you somewhere special.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, there you go, Marley. Thank you so much for submitting that question. Next up, we've got a question from Julia Lisa, age 13, who asks, based on your experience, if you had to pick 3 key lessons learnt or key messages for junior players dreaming to become champions one day, what would these be? So probably ties in quite nicely to Marley's question.
It does, and I think that's a great question from someone who I think could be a fantastic player. Julia's a wonderful player, a wonderful competitor, and has an awful lot of skills. But my only warning to Julia and to a lot of junior players is please, please, please trust the guys that have been there and got the silver hair and been in the future. Don't get too tied up in the here and the now of winning and losing, because it can break your heart, and you can only take so much heartbreak. If you can get through junior career, the junior tennis, if you can get through junior tennis and your heart hasn't been broken by all the losses that you've taken and all those performances that weren't quite perfect, didn't quite go as you wanted it to, if you can get through the end of junior career and your heart's still intact, then you've got a chance to carry forward. But please don't take it all so seriously. I know it's tough because you don't have that foresight. And talking to Jack, that was Jack's message. So via me to Julia and to all the other competing juniors, yes, we want you to compete, but please don't, it's not life or death. Just make sure you come off, you've got a smile on your face. And that again is such an important lesson that I've learned as a coach, because as a young coach, you want your players to do well, because perhaps sometimes it makes you look better as a coach if your players are winning, and coaches want to have winners. But as you get older, you just want to have players that are developing and progressing. And I know Julia is hopefully going to be one of those players. Now, that my second thing that I've experienced is that these players, when they're out on the tour, I've seen them again. Guess what? How many arms does Federer have? How many arms does Nadal have? He has 2 arms. They both have 2 arms. They look very differently. You know, Rafa's got the big muscles and Federer's got the silky live muscles, but they've got 2 arms and 2 legs, and they've got a beating heart. And I know we haven't checked them if they've got 2 hearts. I wonder whether Rafa has sometimes, but they're human beings, and all they've grown and they've developed. So surely that has to be the other experience that I've got to pass on to you. And I've seen Joe from a Joe Salisbury, very, very good junior. Again, very much like Julia. Very good junior. But how do you progress and keep that going? Day in, day out, do your bits. And if you have some bad weeks, some bad months, it doesn't really matter. Just as long as you do keep going and you get back on the bike and you keep riding towards where you want to go, you'll end up somewhere good. And that's what you see. You see Zverev around the practice court. Sometimes he doesn't look the happiest guy in the world, and all his team are trying to do is to G him up and make him happy, put a smile on his face again, in the same way that you would a 5-year-old that was ready to walk off the court, say, no, stick with it. It's quite a nice sport. So very basic things. Third thing that big experience is that find people around you. And Julia, you're at the age now where you can choose this. Make sure that you surround yourself with people that put a smile on your face. Yeah, experts. Of course, but it's amazing how many coaches that you would say, wow, they didn't really do much coaching, but they make their player laugh. They keep their player happy. They keep their player relaxed. And sometimes, if the player's got a lot of game, that's what the player really needs, is a smiley, friendly face, someone to put their arm around the player when they've taken a few hard knocks. So be smart and get good people around you. All right. So Julia, I know you're heading in a great place. And again, looking forward to seeing your progress.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, interesting you say, so a lot of what you mentioned there was all mental, especially sort of those people that perhaps do want to be the champion at this stage of their sort of tennis careers. It's about positive attitude, enjoying the game, rather than anything necessarily physical or technical. It's all in the mind, you think?
It is, yeah. But all these are also choices. And I want people to understand they are choices. And when you're young, you think that fate has, a massive impression, or, I can't do it. Why does it always happen to me? Well, it doesn't always have to happen to you. You can choose. And the earlier you choose the right choices, like getting the right people around you, choosing your mindset, choosing to decide whether you're going to let that loss really bury you for the next 3 or 4 days and ruin practice sessions, or whether you're going to get back on the court. My advice I can remember just saying to players, good players now that I've worked with as juniors, what you're going to do. I even said something crazy like, I want you to call that player up that you lost to. I want you to beg them for a practice set. I want it done in the next week. I want you to get back on court with a great attitude and learn from what happened out there. It's not a mistake. It's only a mistake if you didn't learn from it. If you didn't learn from it, that's the mistake. Yeah. And so these are choices. They are a mindset. You're not born with it. They're all things that you can learn. And in the next vlog, I'm going to show people how they can really do something practical and a little bit out of the box. I'm going to show you some really cool stuff to make these habits. Even now, I'm making sure that I give you the energy that I want you to feel. And that's what you see from the player's box. That's what you see when she's driving her husband on in the box. That's what you see from Uncle Tony when he's driving Rafa on. It's all this, come on, this sport is brutal. Yeah. You're at the top of the Himalayas and you're nearly at the top of the mountain. Come on, I need that last push. And we just got to keep with that beautiful spirit the whole way.
Fantastic. Great. Well, Julia, there you go. Next up, and our final question for this episode 5 is from Zach Harris, who asks, and I like this question, if you could build the ultimate tennis player, would you, and he's actually listed a few different attributes. So he's asked, well, we'll start with serve. So he asks, whose serve would you choose for the ultimate tennis player?
Do you know what? I'm going to go Pete Sampras.
Okay.
Yeah, Pete Sampras is the sort of model I think that Federer would have copied on a whole generation of players. And actually, if you have a look on YouTube or if you have a look at clips of Rajiv Ram, Joe Salisbury's doubles partner, absolutely mirror Pete Sampras' serve. I just think Sampras in the clutch, under pressure, he could ping serves down. And reading Agassi's book, Agassi said, look, I knew on big points Pete was going to go second serve into my backhand. And there's nothing I could do about it. And that's from one of the best returners of all time. So I'm going to go Pete Sampras for his disguise. And I know his coach used to get him to throw the ball up And then just at the very last second, before Pete was about to pronate, his coach would tell him where he wanted him to go. So that Pete Sampras learned how to disguise where the strings were going to face in order to make the ball go wherever he wanted it to go. So from reading a few books, Pete Sampras is a killer on the serve. So Pete's the man.
That's really interesting, because I wonder if a few people, having heard that question, may say Ivo Karlovic. So it's interesting that you would perhaps not choose the player that has one of the highest ace count and actually for someone else. So that's really interesting.
That's a good point. I think you also got to take into account Ivo Karlovic is, what, 6'11" or 7
Yeah,
foot,
something like that. Yeah.
also has a big reason why he has a great. I mean, Sampras was 6'2", so not an average height, especially when I'm 5'7", but I'd love to be anywhere near average height. And serving that many aces and serving so effectively and then backing it up with great shots. And considering he was serving volleying all the time. So,
and I guess doing it in Grand Slam finals and stuff. So
yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we move on to arguably one of the most important shots. So whose forehand would you choose?
Wow. That is really, really tough because, again, Sampras had a smoking forehand from that Eastern forehand grip.
Yeah.
Rafa's got a crazy, evil forehand with all that spin loaded, and he can do anything with it. Agassi, lovely, flat through the ball. Even be on board, great forehand. McEnroe taking the ball on the rise.
Yeah.
Away from the opponent. Federer's forehand, though. Federer's forehand is blistering. And I'm gonna go Roger Federer because I just love the way that he can change the pace. He can look like he's rallying and he can lull you in, and then suddenly with that great footwork he can create space and then rip. And I don't think it's coming because it's not as physical as some of the other players. He creates space very sort of under the radar, and then suddenly just lassos his arm into the ball. So it was a close one, but I'm gonna go Roger Federer.
Okay. Excellent choice. Okay, switching to the other side now, we've got backhand. So whose backhand would you want in this tennis player?
Well, you've got probably arguably the best backhands of all time currently in the game. And it just depends what a bit of style. If you like your style, if you like going to the ballet, then you've got to go Wawrinka, Gasquet, Federer. If you love that one-handed gracefulness, and as a one-hander myself, I love it. But deep down inside, I wish I had learned to play with two hands because I think it's a bit more solid. I think you can have a bit more control over the ball. And I just think that three of the best backhands at the moment, I suppose, Djokovic, just fantastic backhand. I actually love the Rafa backhand, absolutely love it. And the way that he's developed that, he can now create angles on it. He can do anything nasty on it. I think Thiem's backhand is joke. When you see it live, he can hit it as hard as he can. His forehand, Andy's backhand, of course, he can stay in the cross-court rally as long as you like, and then flick up that beautiful lob to win the Davis Cup. But I'm going to give Novak Djokovic.
Yeah.
Backhand, the way he can change up the line off very difficult balls. Novak's got the backhand.
Yeah, wise choice, I think. Okay, next up, and this is interesting with your experience on the pro side of doubles, being so closely linked with that. And you can obviously pick a doubles player. Whose volley would you pick for this tennis player?
Wow, whose volley? Well, I suppose, you've got your. I think Nadal is a great volley. I think Federer is a great volleyer. Djokovic, so-so. All these top players that we can talk about, that have become great singles players. I suppose if you want to look at the truly great volleys of all time, I think you've got to look at guys that came to the net all the time or do currently come to the net all the time. You're looking at John McEnroe, who used to come to the net all the time. Sampras was at the net as much as possible. You had people like Stefan Edberg, Boris Becker, in an era where grass court tennis was played always at the net, and a lot of hard court tennis was played up at the front. So you look at the volume of volleys. played and the amount of volleys that were missed thereafter. I'm going to go with Stefan Edberg.
Okay.
Stefan Edberg, a very graceful mover, got into great positions, fantastic volleys. But I want to put a shout out right now to current doubles players, and I think Joe's obviously a great volleyer, one of the best volleyers on the circuit, undoubtedly. But you've also got, I think, someone like Nicolas Mahou, incredible volleyer. I mean, he's just finished playing singles and also playing, coming to the net as much as possible. So, but my volley goes to Stefan Edberg, just about.
Okay, great choice. All right, next up we've got athleticism. So I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this one. So whose athleticism would you choose?
Okay, so again, I'm going to give a big shout out to my man right now. Check out the Salisbury athleticism. Louis Kaye has real difficulty saying that word, by the way. Fun. Say, Louis, can you say athleticism? You've got some crazy athletes right now, haven't you? I mean, Djokovic's flexibility. He's in there for 40 minutes to an hour beforehand, just stretching, just making sure that he can get every last millimeter out of his reach. So he's crazy. Rafa's stamina and strength and power. How can you win how can you go through the clay court season unbeaten if you're not a crazy athlete? Federer, to be able to get to 38 years old and still be so well at the top of his game. Sampras, again, those jumping smashes. You don't hit jumping smashes from 2 stories high, without being crazy explosive power. That's a really tough one. Again, it depends what you want, but all-round athlete, I'm going to go with Pete Sampras.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Great choice. All right, Sampras with featuring twice on the list. All right, now this is an interesting one. So I think any of these top players probably possess, a rock solid mental attitude. But if you were to pick a player in particular, their mental strength, who would you choose?
Rafa.
Okay, straight away. Why is that?
It's the easiest one to pick. I think Rafa is the ultimate. Again, clay court, long rallies. Anyone who's played on the clay court, anyone who's gone to Spain, vamos, otra, one more ball. I don't know, in the crazy heats, he can do it on any surface. He can win Wimbledon from the back of the court. He can adapt from surface to surface. I mean, who would have thought that a clay court specialist was going to go on and win Wimbledon? And he's just so tough to win all those Roland Garros events, turn up again and again and defend your title on the surface that, the more you win, I suppose there's more and more pressure because young pretenders come along and he's seen them all off. No, I'm not done yet. And you just see in his eyes, you see in his eyes what's obviously going on behind the scenes, in his brain, in his heart, in his spirit, in his legs. You think he's not hurting, he's hurting, and no one really knows that he's hurting. So I think he's crazy. I think, obviously Djokovic is just out there, mad mentality. A great story from the O2, Tsitsipas and Team, 2 young guns, and you would not really have seen them in pain. But if you go back to the O2, Team took some big matches, long time on court, and so did Tsitsipas. And I watched them both. I watched Tsitsipas be carried off court behind the scenes, down the corridor, held by his father and his coach. And I looked at Joe and said, he won't be out tomorrow. He won't be out tomorrow. And he was out the next day and going like 7-6 in the third. So in order, to be in that much pain, to get up in the morning, to be in pain, to get your butt on the court and to say, right, I'm here now, do or die. And with Team next to him in the physios, when he's having all his blisters popped, and it's pretty nasty, and he's screaming and he's in pain and he's in agony. And for him then to get out and sprint around the court like he does, showing no sign. I mean, that's why I'm able to look at some of the juniors now and I say, what's wrong? And they go, oh, I've got a little bit of I think my hamstring hurts a little bit, or my leg hurts a little bit, or I'm feeling a bit sore. I say, you know what? Get on with it. Get on with it. We're halfway up halfway up the mountain. What do you want to do? Do you want to go back? Or you want to climb down, or you want to climb forward? What do you want to do here? So, if you want to be a warrior, then you need to get that in order, forget the pain, and move on. And Rafa's done that for too many years for me not to have him at number one.
Okay, well that ties in almost perfectly with the penultimate option. It's the will to win. So whose will to win would you have? So would you put that hand in hand with mental strength, or is there someone else who you think has a better will to win?
There's somebody else. There's somebody else whose will to win, and we've all witnessed it on television. I've been lucky enough to witness it in real life, in flesh, and that is Andy Murray.
Okay, all right.
Murray's will to win. I watched Wimbledon final again when he won 2013, right?
Yeah.
2013 when he, to serve out that final game, and that whole journey of the Wimbledon experience for him, and coming over the line in 77 years. You telling me after 77 years, your will to win's got to be pretty major when you got the pressure of all the press and the British public and everybody.
Yeah.
Your will to win, to come through all that, and the press hadn't always been so friendly to him, and he still said, you know what, forget you lot. I'm doing this. I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for my love of the game. And also just the way that he's come back and the way that he wants to keep playing tennis. He loves to compete, and he's gone through, anyone who's seen his documentary knows how much of a struggle it's been. So his will to win is fantastic. And I watched him play at Queen's last year when Joe and Rajiv played them in the final. And in the semis, they should have gone home. They should have lost to Piers and Continent. And I sat there with Joe scouting Andy Murray's match. Can you imagine? And just saying, Joe, just forget forehands and backhands. Can you feel that will to win? Can you feel his intensity for every point? He just wants it so bad. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty overwhelming. So, Andy's my man. Will to win.
Okay, I love it. And finally, now this is quite subjective, so I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this one. The final one is, who's tennis X factor? So who has the X factor that you would want to put into this magic tennis player?
Okay, so we're looking for pizzazz. We're looking for someone who's got it on court, got it off court, is bigger than the game, transcends. We're looking for the Muhammad Ali of the tennis world.
Yeah.
We're looking for the Las Vegas of the tennis world.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people might think, well, Federer's got that factor, but I think someone has the Las Vegas X factor, and I'm going to go with Andre Agassi.
Yeah, great choice.
Won lots of Grand Slams, came back from 141 in the world, playing Vegas challenges after he went off the ball and had a few issues. Came back to number one in the world, so he's got the mental strength, he's got the physical capacity. If you read his book, another great book, he built a gym in his shed, in his garage. And it was specific, one of the very first tennis-specific gyms. So he had the game, he had the look. He kept changing from the long blonde hair to the pirate look, the earrings, the girlfriends, and then he marries the ultimate, tennis female specimen in Seti Graf. He lives in Vegas. Andre's got the X factor. So Andre, you're my man. You got the X factor.
I love it. X factor. All right. So our magic tennis player, Zach Harris. So the
magic player.
Sorry.
You sounded like you said Zach Harris was our magic player. I love that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's all combined. So, so to answer Zach Harris's question, the ultimate tennis player, according to Justin, is Sampras with the serve, Federer on the forehand, Djokovic on the backhand, Edberg's volley, Sampras's athleticism, Rafa's mental strength, Murray's will to win, and Agassi's X factor. That sounds like a pretty good player to me.
Sounds like a great player. Great question.
Brilliant. Well, look, that's it for now. Thank you to everyone for submitting their questions. That's been really useful insight and a great chat. So this is obviously episode 5. We've got episode 6 coming out next week. So do you want to give people a little snippet as to what they can expect from the next episode?
Yeah, next week, you know, we've been talking a lot about mindset, how to think, how to control that voice inside your mind. Yes, guys, we've all got that voice. We all know that voice, the one that says, "Come on, count to 5 and get up. Come on, you got to get out of bed. Count to 5." That voice, come on, you know the one. The one says, "Oh no, not mum spaghetti again. Oh no, that voice." You know, we've got to get that voice working for us on the tennis court. So I'm going to give you some practical ways to get that voice, to waken that voice up, to get your body language working for you, and so that you feel like a performer.
Love it. Brilliant. Well, look, thank you again to Justin Sherring, our County Performance Manager. And thank you for watching. We hope you enjoy it. And we'll be back soon. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Bye, guys.